How cool was that intro? For a game this old, especially, like, wow. It's still got it. It's still good. Although, I suppose there's probably one of two people watching this video right now. The first type of person is the one that saw that and was like, wow, this is stupid, and immediately clicked off the video. And the other type of person is the one that also thought, hey, that was really cool, and is still here. So for the second type of person, how you doing? Welcome to Let's Play Dawn of War, the original Game of the Year edition. I think it's Game of the Year edition, or is it Gold edition? I think it's Gold edition, but anyway. The original Dawn of War. None of the expansions, just the original, because we're playing the campaign, the story campaign that this game originally came with. This game had 3 expansions, which were all pretty good, really, on balance, and they added a ton of content to this game, but we're going back to the original campaign because the original campaign, unlike the others, was a totally narrative, story-based experience. Like your classic old-school RTS story campaign that you'd get from StarCraft or what have you. So, this game, Dawn of War, is a very special one for me because Dawn of War is the game that got me into Warhammer 40k. Now, if you watch this and you know nothing about Warhammer 40k, then welcome. Perhaps watching this will get you interested in it too, just like it did me back in the day. That's my hope anyway. If you are into 40k and you've never played Dawn of War, then holy crap, did you miss out? Because this game was awesome, and it still is, in my opinion. I think it's great. It's an RTS in the same vein as your old school Age of Empires / StarCraft / Warcraft 3 / whatever. It's of that kind of era. You know, base building, you've got units, you move around the map, and so on and so forth. This was Relic's big breakout hit back in the day. They went on to make more Dawn of War games, the Company of Heroes games as well. And yeah, let's admit it, the later Dawn of War games weren't as good as this one, at least not in my opinion, and I don't think anyone really likes Dawn of War 3 that much, but hey, we're not playing them, we're playing this. So, I think we'll get started, folks. I hope you enjoy this. As I said, this is the game that got me into Warhammer 40k. As some of you watching this may know, I do Warhammer 40k tabletop videos on my YouTube channel. And without this game, none of that would have been possible, because without this game, I never would have got into 40k back in, gosh, I think it must have been 3rd or 4th edition when this came out. And yeah, kind of owe a lot to this game. It's awesome, it's still awesome, and I'm going to play through it for you today, both to share an awesome game that I love from back in the day, and also to hopefully get a few of you interested in the game too, whether you become interested in playing other 40k video games, of which there are many, whether you become interested in playing the tabletop game itself, or just reading the books, because there's an awful lot of stuff out there. The Warhammer 40k universe is huge. There are just as many people who purely read the books set in that universe as there are who actually play the miniatures game, as there are who play the video games. So it's massive, it's huge, it's complex, and it's awesome in my opinion. Even with all of the brightly coloured cartoonish Space Marines guys like we have here, I can't get enough of it. I love it. I always have, probably always will. So without further ado, folks, the campaign. Let's do it. I've not played it in years. I hope it's as good as I remember it being. Let's go mission 1. Difficulty. I'm just going to whack it on normal. We're not here for super awesome, hardcore tactical plays here. We're here for the story. And that's really it. So don't yell at me for being a filthy casual playing it on normal, alright?
of the Emperor, you will not falter! We can't hold! Run for your lives! Cowards! You will fight, or you will die.
I am Captain Gabriel Angelos of the Blood Raven's 3rd Company. Status.
My lord, forgive me. We have done all we can to stop the Orcs, but we have failed. My men's lives are yours.
You stood your ground in the face of the Emperor's foes. You've done your duty. If your men have failed you, I will leave their judgment in your hands.
Thank you, my lord.
I am not here for your thanks. This port must be held if we are to maintain troops and supply lines to the planet's surface. That is why we are here. Now, what of the wounded and the civilians?
Stranded. We have few ships.
Then you shall have more. All Blood Raven flights execute Protocol 23 and initiate civilian evacuation. We will dispatch the ground forces.
Yes, my lord.
Ground forces, my lord. But the Orcs have retreated.
You must know your enemy to defeat them, Colonel. Orcs only retreat to regroup. They will keep coming until you, or they, are dead. Brothers, let us destroy this alien filth!
And so we begin, folks. I apologize
What a
if...
glorious day for a battle. As the stronghold, our frontline battle headquarters is currently being assembled. We should proceed with caution until it is finished.
Right, we're going to get tutorialized to death in this early portion of the game, but that's fine. I was going to say apologies before I was interrupted by the good captain here. I was going to apologize for if it looks a bit stretched.
The stronghold is complete. We must now set about establishing a proper frontline base.
Because I am playing with a widescreen mod installed, but it isn't perfect. The later expansions added widescreen support for the game, but the original you still have to play in 4:3 or mod it slightly. So everything might look a little bit wide.
The first thing we need is a chapel barracks. That will allow us to call down more Space Marine squads.
Very good, Captain. If I could just talk for a couple of seconds here. So, we begin here on the planet of, I think it's Tartarus or something it's called, which is currently being attacked by a swarm of greenskins known as the Orcs. If you're completely new to this whole thing, that's what they're called. The great thing about this campaign, let's build a barracks here, is that it introduces you to the 40k universe as a complete newbie. Like, they definitely made this game with the expectation that a lot of people playing it would have no idea what was going on. So I'll try and explain stuff as we go along here. But mostly the game will do its damnedest to explain itself without my help, really. What I will tell you is that we're playing here as the Space Marines, specifically the chapter known as the Blood Ravens. Space Marines come in a bunch of different chapters, which are sort of like regiments, but they're a little bit different. They all come in various different color schemes and stuff because, you know, it's based on a tabletop miniatures game, so they all have very different bright color schemes. Some are bright blue, some are yellow.
Barracks is finished. Now you can build some more Space Marine squads.
And some are red, like the Blood Ravens here. This was a chapter that was, I think, created specifically for this game back in the day. Although plenty of people collect these guys on the tabletop ever since then, because they're quite popular as a result of this series of games. But yes, these guys have arrived.
If we are to defeat these Orcs, we will need to call in some special weapons. We must build an armory to get access to them.
Thank you, Gabriel. These guys have arrived to kick the Orcs' asses, basically. The Space Marines are not like regular humans. They're sort of cyborg super soldier humans who are outrageously overpowered in every way. They have armor that's made of special magic metal that's basically makes them about as impervious to small fire. Small arms fire. English is difficult today, apparently. About as impervious to small arms fire as tanks. So they're also super strong and all the rest of it. If you're a Halo fan, think the Master Chief, but even more exaggerated and silly.
I await your instructions.
Armory.
I will do as you ask.
So we're building the basic base buildings here. The barracks is where you recruit your infantry stuff. The headquarters is where you upgrade to the next tech tier and things like that. You build your builder units there. The armory is where we get unit upgrades from, and so on and so forth. One of the things this game does that echoes the tabletop game is that squads are controlled as a single unit like this, and they have various upgrades. You can give them a sergeant, you can add more members, you can give them different specific weapons that are good against different types of targets.
Understood.
Which is very, very good. Your Space Marines here, they're your basic sort of human units. They're...
Excellent. The armory is operational. The Space Marine squads can now upgrade their standard bolters to flamers and heavy bolters.
Indeed. As you can see, they're very like your sort of your Terrans, I suppose, in StarCraft. Let's give you a flamer and a heavy bolter. Actually, no. You can have two flamers. You can have a pair of heavy bolters.
We must not forget
So can
our
you.
power needs. Building a plasma generator will supply us with the power we need to keep our force going.
Build routine 721
Indeed. We have two types of resources in this game we build stuff with. Requisition points and power. Power we get from generators. Requisition points we get from capturing strategic points on the map like that, which then generate resources for us constantly as the game goes on. So we don't have like little villager type guys running out to grab wood and gold and things like that. This is this game's version of that sort of thing, basically.
I await your instructions.
Over there, you can go speed up the production slightly, although it's done anyway.
Plasma generators will continue to produce power at a constant rate, but there is a limit of how many plasma generators can be built per stronghold.
See, it's funny, I'd actually forgotten that. Yeah, you can only build so many per stronghold here, and I'd forgotten that after all these years, so... Thanks, Gabe!
While the enemies of the Emperor still draw breath, there can be... We must start capturing strategic points. These three closest strategic points will do for now. Let us capture them first, and then move on to the others.
What's your order?
Right, we'll run them over to there. You'll notice when the guys with the heavy bolters move, when they stop, there's a little bar that fills up, and once that's filled up, they're able to fire. You can't fire and move with these guys.
We are the Emperor's chosen.
They have to set up first a little bit, like they did there. Those are the Orc builder units over there. They're Gretchen, these little guys here, who are getting mown down.
Objective achieved. Fear denies faith.
Always liked how they did this in this game, where you capture a strategic point by planting your big banner on it and have all you guys sort of pray to the God Emperor to raise it up there. Again, it's very appropriate considering how 40k is full of ridiculous banners and stuff like that all the time.
The Emperor protects.
So, Gabriel here, he's our force commander.
We shall know no fear.
He's a captain, and he's a really powerful
I shall not fail.
melee unit, basically.
terror.
You have close combat units and shooty units in this game. We can also attach him to a squad, like you used to be able to do in the tabletop game. So
Together to
he can
victory.
join these guys,
While
and now
enemies
he's part of the
Emperor
squad,
still
basically.
draw breath, there can be no peace.
There's not an awful lot of point in him doing that right now,
The heretic.
because
I
we'd be
shall
better
not
off with
fail.
him actually running up to the Orcs and stabbing them with his big power sword instead. So now what we can do
Your instructions.
is we can build a listening post on top of this strategic
I will
point we've
do
captured,
as you ask.
which is, I think, what the game wants us to do.
Beware the alien.
And during that, we'll put a building on it that the enemy has to destroy before capturing it, and also it will generate more resources for us. So
Orders received. Orders received.
Meantime, let's continue to purge the Xenos.
Take and hold.
Feels funny playing this after all these years. Whatever happened to the RTS genre, right? It just doesn't get much love these days. And whatever happened in particular to RTS games with single-player story campaigns on them, right? You remember playing through, I mean, certainly this game, but also like StarCraft 1 and 2 back in the day. The big story and all the cutscenes, and Warcraft 3 as well. Feels like a relic of yesteryear a bit, really. Makes you feel old thinking about it. Ah, we're gonna go all the way back around to grab that, have we? There's a bunch of destroyed tanks and stuff in the way, apparently. The unit pathfinding is mostly pretty good. Occasionally it has issues. I don't think the Orcs will actually bother to really attack us on this level.
Your instructions.
So I could probably afford not to bother defending these properly.
Build routine 721 initiated.
It's easing us into it at this point. It's taking the attitude of assume the player has never played an RTS game before and also knows nothing about Warhammer 40k. So, heavy weapon increase, upgrade, maximum number of heavy weapons Space Marine squads could carry. Yes, please. I think that will allow us to have 4 heavy bolters in a squad, or 4 flamers, or any combination of the 2. Heavy bolters are...
Well
You see, it's color-coded the
We have
squad to
captured
blue.
Several strategic points. Capturing strategic points and building listening posts on them earns us more requisition resource, which we can use when we build squads and equipment.
Yes, Gabriel, I've just explained this to the viewers. You'll notice this color codes the squads based on what weapons they've got as well. I think it turns the ring around the image purple if you've got a mix. But yeah, blue is your anti-light infantry. Red is your flamers that do... Basically, they do morale damage. The game has a morale system.
Excellent.
That's the blue bar you can see there.
Protected from an Orc retaliation. We should continue to build listening posts on all our captured points.
Yes, most
Yes,
beneficent one.
sir.
Initializing build protocol.
When that morale bar goes down to 0, the unit breaks, basically.
It is time
And
to hunt down the source of these Orcs. They must have a base somewhere within the walls of this Imperial facility.
Taking heavy fire.
like that. Like they just did there. You saw the little the red crosshairs appear around them. That's because their morale broke.
An Orc camp. And look there, a break in the spaceport's defensive wall. They must have blasted their way in. We must destroy this Orc camp and any others these foul creatures may have constructed.
And as Gabriel keeps interrupting me with his wonderful, over-the-top dialogue that's marvelous, I'm trying to explain that when a squad is broken like that, basically what happens is they do virtually no damage with their guns or melee attacks. So, flamers are a weapon that particularly does loads of damage to enemy morale, for instance. There are also other types of weapons we won't unlock yet, plasma guns and rocket launchers in our case, which damage other types of units.
Has been destroyed.
Strategic point identified.
Rocket launchers are good against vehicles, for example, and plasma weapons are good against heavy infantry, infantry with lots of armor, so...
Awaiting orders.
Those Imperial Guardsmen look like they could use some assistance. Come, brothers, make haste. Our prayers have been answered. Here come the Space Marines!
Ready. It is time. We stand ready. Fear our wrath.
Give them flamers. Oh, we can get more as well. There we go. Let's keep upgrading you guys. Very nice.
Attacking at order.
We are the Imperial Guard. It
Orders
is time we
received,
started acting
brother.
like it.
These poor fellas here, the Imperial Guard, they are, they're the basic foot soldiers of the Imperium, which is what the humans are called. In this setting, they aren't huge, great big, 8 feet tall dudes in tank-like power armor. They're just blokes with some Kevlar, effectively, and a laser gun, and that's kind of it. And a bayonet, of course. Can't forget the bayonet. They die by the thousands. They're basically cannon fodder.
Stand ready.
And
Beware the alien, the mutant.
they're not really to be relied upon, but
Received, brother.
we saved their poor sorry lives
Our
today.
wrath. Onward to glory! Onward to glory! Orders received. Stay vigilant, brothers.
Trying to think what was the other... Command and Conquer, that was it. That was the other game that was... game series that was sitting at the edge of my memory in terms of RTSs with story campaigns that I used to enjoy back in the day. It's been a long time since I played a CNC game, bloody hell. Rest in peace, that series. Unfortunately, they got bought by EA, so I'm sure you can guess what happened next.
Onward to glory! None shall stop us.
Although, in a way, it's funny to think back and remember a time when EA did more than just, like, BioWare games, Battlefield, and sports.
Maintain attack formation.
But they did, once upon a time.
Moving out. Orders received. We will crush the
As you can see, we're kind of just plowing through these orcs with no issues whatsoever, unsurprisingly. You can zoom in and get a really nice view as well in this game if I hold down the Alt button. See all those lovely animations in first person, almost. You can get this out of the way to get a nice view. See, one of the fun features of this game was if you were playing skirmish mode or the multiplayer, the game has an army painter feature which allows you to customize the way your army looks, like what colors they have and what badges they have and stuff like that. So you could make your Space Marines in the video game look like your Space Marines on the tabletop. And I have to admit, I spent an awful lot of time back in the day playing this with the game paused, taking action screenshots of my dudes painted up in the game just like they were on the tabletop. It was awesome.
Fear our wrath. Understood.
Right. Ooh, I hear more stuff going on.
Enemies of the Imperial.
Yeah, there's probably some guardsmen dying down there.
Orders received.
Let's go rescue them, shall we?
Urge. Kill. Charge.
We are probably going to need all of the guardsmen and everything we can get our hands on to save this planet from the orcs, so...
There's work to be done!
None shall stop us. Cleanse. Purge. Kill.
The orcs are... well, you know, they're orcs. They don't require much explanation. They're big green dudes who like to fight. But they're technically a form of fungus in the 40k universe. They're essentially a sort of very hyper-advanced cross between,
The Emperor protects.
you know, a mammal and a mushroom.
We stand ready.
And the problem with them is
None shall stop us.
that when they actually get onto a planet, you can pretty much never really fully get rid of them, because when they die, they release a bunch of spores, which will eventually later on mature into a bunch of brand new orcs. So even if we manage to save this planet Tartarus from this orc invasion, it's going to be cursed basically forever, with occasional infestations of greenskins that break out every now and again on account of the fact that
At your command.
the spores have settled here now. Every time we kill one of these dudes, more of them are sinking into the soil.
Regroup!
Walk softly.
So this planet's going to be cursed with them basically forevermore.
Beware the alien, the mutant.
But for now, we shall just kill as many of the foul Xenos as possible. And why is it indicating here? What's my objective? Destroy the Orc camps. Save the Tartarus Defense Force. Secure the spaceport.
Orders received. Fear our wrath. Onward
Let's,
to
yeah,
glory.
let's capture that. I think if we get both of those, we will have secured the spaceport, so to speak. The environment design and everything else in this game is excellent. It really mimics the way the tabletop scenery in the tabletop game looks as well.
Destroyed.
I mean, honestly, this game was responsible, I think, for a lot of how most people view the 40k universe in terms of the way it looks and the way it sounds. You know, ever since Dawn of War came out, and a lot of people's minds, Space Marines all sound
At your command.
like that. Orcs always sound like they do in this game. This game kind of set the tone for a lot of that kind of stuff.
Position secure.
Today, the enemy shall know fear.
Mostly thanks to the amazing voice work they did on this game. The voice actors on the Dawn of War series did an incredible job.
Fear our wrath. Moving out.
Particularly as you get into the expansions, which add the other factions as well. This game features 4 factions as a basic start. You have the Space Marines, you have the Orcs here, and you have 2 other factions which we will meet in the course of this campaign. And then each expansion pack that came out after this added at least 2 more factions on top of that. So it's really kind of quite an achievement when you think about it in terms of other real-time strategy games like this, where you have, say, StarCraft, which really only has 3 factions. Command and Conquer had, 2 or 3 factions in each game, more or less. This game had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 factions if I'm counting it up correctly with all the expansions. And there are mods out there that add even more to it, so... Also a strategic point I've missed over there. Let's send a squad to go look at it. But the sheer variety of armies you could play as in this game versus other real-time strategy of the time, and completely unique as well. We're not talking like Age of Empires where you have like about 20 different factions, but the only difference between them is a few statistical bonuses and maybe 1 or 2 unique units for each one.
Awaiting orders. Fear our wrath.
Okay, this is a suspiciously unguarded strategic point, but let's grab it. Oh, no, there we go. We have a bunch of Orcs attacking a Lehman Russ tank. It's one of the Imperial Guard's tanks. That's one thing the Imperial Guard does do well. They have really good tanks. Which is now under our control because we rescued him. Hooray! It's got, like, no health, but it's on our side. Hooray. I could get a servitor up here to repair it, I think, but it's probably not worth bothering. The Imperial Guard here, they get added as a playable faction in the first expansion, Winter Assault.
Fear denies faith.
But in the campaign for the first game, you can occasionally control Imperial Guard units like this in some of the missions.
While the enemies
And I say playable, I mean playable in the multiplayer and skirmish mode. We'll only play as the Space Marines in this campaign, just for clarity's sake.
Fear our wrath. Charge.
Right, I think old Gabe here and these 2 squads will probably be enough to wipe all this nonsense out. So let's get on with it. Oh, more Orcs! Now, aside from how hilariously inaccurate that main cannon is, as you saw there, it wiped him out. No issues whatsoever. Yeah, I think it fired and then the shell landed there somehow.
Awaiting orders.
I think the idea in this game is you want to get like about 5 or 6 of these and then have them all firing, so it doesn't matter where the shells land.
Yes, my lord.
I think there's 1 or 2 missions where you do get quite a few tanks like that, so... Of course, the Space Marines have their own tanks, but they're quite different. They're rather more fragile. But their guns are much more accurate.
Orders received, brother.
While the enemies of the Emperor still draw breath, there can be no peace.
We are the Emperor.
Well, get stuck in, guys. Unfortunate little thing in this game, you tell your units to attack stuff, they won't always move into range for all of their weapons, so you'll see the flamer guys just kind of standing around doing nothing fairly frequently.
Attacking as ordered.
There, that's the last of them. Well done, Blood Ravens. Victory is ours.
I am honored to be in the presence of a librarian. I wish to know how my men can better serve you.
We shall wait for the captain to finish his prayers. I saw you stand against the Orcs. You are a brave man, Colonel. I wish I could say the same of your men.
I shall strengthen their resolve, my lord.
See that you do, or we shall do it for you. You have something you wish to say. Say it, Colonel.
How did you know?
Even without my psychic gifts, it is obvious. Speak.
Is it true your company eradicated a heresy on the planet of Cyrene recently? An exterminatus, down to the planet's last man, woman and child.
Colonel, your company is welcome, but such questions are not. Do not ask the captain about Cyrene if you intend to remain in his good graces. Brother Captain, the Colonel wishes an audience with you.
Thank you, Isidore.
My lord, my Tartarus 37th Imperial Guard Regiment stand ready to serve you in protecting the city. They wish to make amends for...
They will have many opportunities to prove themselves warriors worthy of the Emperor. The Blood Ravens are leaving the city. Its protection is in your hands.
I will ready my men. May I ask what your next course of action is?
Orcs only respect strength. I intend to show them that we have it in ample supply.